On the 18th of December 2015, the highly anticipated Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, will have opened worldwide. It opened earlier some places than others though, so having already seen it, I will give my review already today on December 16th. Before the review, I'll relay my own history with Star Wars, so you know where I'm coming from, then give my spoiler-free impression of The Force Awakens, and finally, the spoiler-filled review. To help those who want to either avoid spoilers, or jump right to them for that matter, this video will be highly compartmentalized. The bottom and side bar will let you know which item is covered at any time in the video, should you feel like skipping some sections. There will be no spoilers outside of the clearly marked spoiler review. The original Star Wars was a cultural phenomenon when it was released in 1977, which would forever influence and alter the entertainment industry. It captivated audiences at the time, and it has captivated audiences ever since, creating hardcore fans in generation after generation. The reasons why Star Wars is so alluring is the subject for another video, but I do think an extremely important part of why it keeps on winning ever new generations of fans is Lucasfilm's penchant for getting them while they are young. There is an age where we are impressionable, where the properties we enjoy tend to stick with us, and even the properties we outgrow, we will always have a level of nostalgic affection for. Every single hardcore Star Wars fan I know of was first exposed to Star Wars as a kid in this impressionable age. I, however, was not exposed to Star Wars this early, and I can think of no other reason why I, to this day, am only, at best, a casual fan, if even that. Still, even if I tend to prefer science fiction over fantasy, and Star Wars is pure and unadulterated fantasy, I should on paper love Star Wars too, especially given my other preferred properties. I unabashedly love Spaceballs, for instance, which I did see as a kid, but I never grew up with Star Wars. I was aware of Star Wars, caught references, saw bits and pieces, but I never saw the whole trilogy until my late teens, when I saw the special editions. By then it was too late, and I didn't see what all the fuss was about. Later, I have learned to appreciate the original Star Wars trilogy for the perfection with which it was put together and executed, and its wider impact on cinema and pop culture. After seeing Lucas retroactively destroying his work with the prequel trilogy, I was glad to see Disney take over Lucasfilm, and I was really excited to see what J.J. Abrams would do with Star Wars after bringing back Star Trek by infusing some Star Wars into it. As a Star Trek fan, I was sorry to see him go, but I blame that on the nincompoops in Paramount who seem intent on burying that property. So anyway, I approach Star Wars The Force Awakens as a genre film enthusiast whose perception of the movie isn't tinted by fanboy shades or brand loyalty. So how does the movie measure up? My reaction upon seeing the movie was that it measures up pretty darn well. This is the first Star Wars I didn't just appreciate for the craft involved in putting it together, but that I actually enjoyed watching. It had an emotional impact, as it made me care about the characters, something I haven't really experienced with any prior Star Wars. And that's where The Force Awakens really shines, in its characters, their chemistry and the acting. This to me is a contrast to the originals, where I feel George Lucas and his team perfectly distilled the essence of mythological structure in the storytelling, but where the characters were personifications of archetypes rather than actual persons. Continuing that contrast, the weak spot of The Force Awakens is the very thing that made the originals shine, namely story and structure. While Abrams borrows heavily from the originals, it story-wise feels less complete and more confused, as it spends so much time setting up sequels and spin-offs with side stories that run adjacent to the main story. Despite this and other minor flaws though, this non-fan has been won over. I've never really cared about Star Wars before, but now I am curious to see what happens next, and eagerly look forward to more Star Wars. And now onto the spoiler review, where significant chunks of the plot will be revealed, so naturally there will be spoilers. You have been warned. Star Wars The Force Awakens sets the stage for the future of Star Wars by introducing new characters and reintroducing old. It answers many questions of what happened after the Empire fell, but it also raises some new questions, which no doubt will be explored in future movies. Sometimes these questions are explicit to the point of being distracting, such as C-3PO's Red Arm, where they might as well have shouted from the rooftops, anthology movie coming soon. The movie begins about 3 decades after Return of the Jedi, whose end dancing on Endor turned out to be more of a breather than a victory with any kind of finality to it. Out of the ashes of the Empire rose the First Order, which seeks to restore the Empire. The First Order is led by the mysterious Snoke, who kind of looks like an elder from Green Lantern, but who is well versed in the dark side of the Force, and his underlings, General Hux and Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren, of course, is the new de facto Vader and is also well versed in the dark side. The Resistance grew in strength and formed a new republic where Leia Organa, formerly princess, ended up serving as a general. For reasons that will be at least somewhat clarified later, Luke Skywalker abandoned his post training a new generation of Jedi and exiled himself. No one knows where he is, and the story revolves around finding him, using the digital proverbial treasure map he left behind. Like the plans for the Death Star of the original Star Wars, Luke Skywalker's location is wanted by both sides, and the search for it is what brings about the story. Part of this treasure map is stored in the droid BB-8, who unlike R2-D2 I actually found to be charming and endearing in a Wall-E kind of way, along with a rebel pilot and a disillusioned stormtrooper who goes by the designation FN some number or other. They escape for the nearby Tatooine-like desert planet of Jakku, where after some hurdles, the newly named Finn and BB-8 encounter Rey. Rey sustains herself by scavenging and selling scraps from long since crashed and abandoned Empire warships, and even if she has no training, the Force is clearly strong with her and will awaken throughout the course of the movie. Finn, like Han Solo of the original, is initially only interested in looking out for himself, albeit for different reasons than Han Solo. Both John Boyega and Daisy Ridley play their parts well, and unlike Hayden Christensen and Mark Hamill, I think they have a good shot at becoming huge stars in their own right after this. They're that good. Anyway, Rey, Finn and BB-8 manage to get off the planet by escaping the First Order forces in an abandoned spaceship which conveniently turns out to be the Millennium Falcon. In space, the Millennium Falcon is soon conveniently apprehended by a freighter run by none other than Han Solo and Chewbacca, who want their ship back, and have much bigger roles than the trailer would have you believe. After some hurdles, they all travel to a Naboo-like forest planet where they meet up with the Rebellion and General Leia to hand over the information about Luke Skywalker's whereabouts. Han Solo and Leia still have chemistry and care for each other, but it is clear that they have both suffered a lot and been torn apart over their son, Ben. No doubt named after Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ben trained as a Jedi under Luke Skywalker, but was seduced to the dark side by Snoke. We now know him as Kylo Ren, a powerful Force user prone to angry fits of rage, who idolizes his grandfather Darth Vader and is obsessed with becoming as strong as him. With that, the stage is set for confrontations between the rebels and the First Order, as well as between father and son, which mirrors the confrontations of the originals. Only the latter has a far more heartbreaking outcome. The high point of the movie to me are its characters, most notably Kylo Ren and Rey. We learn a lot about Kylo Ren, and after solving his struggle between darkness and light with a choice there can be no going back from, it will be very interesting to see what trajectory his character will take from here on out. Rey is still something of a mystery though, as is Snoke. And the flip side is that mysteries, and I use the term lightly, are something there are just too many of here. We learn that Ben, or rather Kylo Ren, switching sides was seemingly such a big trauma to Luke Skywalker that he exiled himself, which I at least think was a bit of an overreaction. Wasn't there other Jedis to train? Did he just ditch them? There's probably more to it, which may be revealed in future films. In the meantime though, that is but one example of the main flaw of this film, its tendency to gloss over communicating character motivations and plot points. While this may be a deliberate choice in setting up annual Star Wars movies from here on out, it is nonetheless detrimental to this movie. Structurally, J.J. Abrams borrows heavily from A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back. Just like George Lucas wanted with the prequels, this movie kind of rhymes with the original, reusing many of the same motifs and setups, but subversing them in the process. Similarly, just as Abrams reinvigorated Star Trek by bringing some Star Wars into it, he has now reinvigorated Star Wars by mixing in a little bit of Star Trek. Case in point, shield generators, technobabble, and medical tricorders take front and center stage, which I rather liked. And despite the flaws, I liked the movie as a whole too. Look very much forward to seeing what comes next.
If you liked this video, don't forget to hit subscribe so you can catch all of our upcoming videos. For more podcasts, news, and reviews, check us out at midnightsedge.net and follow us on Twitter at midnightsedge. Also check out our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/midnightsedge.